I've summed up my 5 takeaways and thoughts about this book in this video. I highly recommend you to read the original book of the author. Please share with me your opinion about this book in the comments below. Fixed Income Securities is a comprehensive guide to the world of fixed income investments, written by Bruce Tuckman. In this book, Tuckman offers a detailed analysis of the different types of fixed income securities and their characteristics, including bonds, swaps, options, futures, and other derivatives. The book is divided into 4 parts, each of which covers a different aspect of fixed income securities. The first part is an introduction to fixed income securities and their role in financial markets. Tuckman explains the basics of fixed income securities, such as yield curves, interest rates, and credit risk, and provides a historical perspective on the development of these securities. The second part of the book is devoted to the valuation of fixed income securities. Tuckman covers a range of valuation models, including present value models, option pricing models, and interest rate models. He also discusses the limitations and assumptions of these models and provides practical examples to illustrate their use. The third part of the book is focused on risk management in fixed income securities. Tuckman explains the different types of risk associated with fixed income securities, such as interest rate risk, credit risk, liquidity risk, and market risk. He also discusses the methods used to manage these risks, including hedging, diversification, and credit analysis. The final part of the book is a collection of advanced topics in fixed income securities. Tuckman covers topics such as structured products, credit derivatives, and mortgage-backed securities. He also provides a brief introduction to the emerging field of behavioral finance and its implications for fixed income securities. Overall, fixed income securities is a must-read for anyone interested in fixed income investments. Tuckman's clear and concise writing style, combined with his in-depth knowledge of the subject matter, make this book an excellent resource for both novice and experienced investors alike. Whether you're a financial professional looking to expand your knowledge or an individual investor looking to improve your portfolio, Fixed Income Securities is a valuable addition to any reading list. Fixed income securities provide investors with a steady stream of income in the form of regular interest payments. These securities are essentially loans made by investors to governments, companies, and other entities, which the issuers then use to finance their operations or other projects. The issuer of a fixed income security promises to pay the investor a predetermined rate of interest over a set period, and then return the principal amount of the investment when the security reaches maturity. Fixed income securities are popular among investors who seek a stable, predictable income stream and are looking to diversify their portfolios. These securities come in various forms, including bonds, swaps, options, futures, and other derivatives, and are traded on a variety of exchanges, over-the-counter markets, and electronic platforms. While fixed income securities are generally less volatile than other types of investments, such as equities or commodities, they are still subject to risks such as interest rate risk, credit risk, and liquidity risk. Interest rate risk arises when interest rates rise, which can lower the value of the security. Credit risk is the risk that the issuer of the security may default on its payments, while liquidity risk is the risk that the investor may not be able to sell the security when needed. Despite these risks, fixed income securities continue to be an attractive investment option for many investors, particularly those seeking a steady income stream and a lower level of volatility than other investments. The study of fixed income securities is an important aspect of finance and economics, providing investors with valuable insights into the workings of financial markets and the factors that influence the value and performance of these securities. The valuation of fixed income securities is a critical factor in determining their price and assessing their potential return. Factors such as interest rates, credit risk, and market liquidity all impact the value of fixed income securities. Interest rates have a direct impact on the value of fixed income securities. As interest rates rise, the value of fixed income securities falls, and vice versa. This is because investors are willing to pay less for a security that pays a fixed rate of interest if interest rates have risen, as they could potentially earn a higher return elsewhere. Conversely, if interest rates fall, the value of fixed income securities rises, as investors are willing to pay more for the same level of income. Credit risk is another important factor in the valuation of fixed income securities. The creditworthiness of the issuer determines the level of credit risk associated with the security. The higher the credit risk, the higher the yield investors require to compensate them for the risk of default. The credit rating of the issuer, as determined by credit rating agencies, is a critical factor in assessing credit risk. Market liquidity is also a critical factor in the valuation of fixed income securities. The more liquid the market, the more efficiently securities can be priced, and the easier it is for investors to buy and sell securities. Less liquid markets may result in wider bid-ask spreads, making it more difficult for investors to transact and obtain a fair price. Various models can be used to value fixed income securities, such as the present value model, option pricing model, and interest rate models. Each has its limitations and assumptions that must be taken into account. The present value model, for example, calculates the value of a security based on the present value of its expected cash flows. The option pricing model is used to value securities with embedded options, such as callable bonds or convertible bonds. Interest rate models are used to estimate the expected path of future interest rates and their impact on the value of fixed income securities. Overall, the valuation of fixed income securities is a complex process that requires an understanding of various factors that impact their value. Investors must consider interest rates, credit risk, market liquidity, and the appropriate valuation model to determine the fair value of these securities. Valuation models are used to estimate the fair value of fixed income securities, taking into account various factors such as interest rates, credit risk, and market liquidity. There are various models that can be used to value fixed income securities, each with its limitations and assumptions that must be taken into account. The present value model is a widely used valuation model that calculates the value of a security based on the present value of its expected cash flows. This model assumes that the future cash flows are known with certainty, and that interest rates and credit risk are constant over the life of the security. The option pricing model is used to value securities with embedded options, such as callable bonds or convertible bonds. This model takes into account the value of the option and the expected path of interest rates and credit risk over the life of the security. Interest rate models are used to estimate the expected path of future interest rates and their impact on the value of fixed income securities. These models take into account various factors such as inflation, economic growth, and central bank policy. Credit risk models are used to estimate the probability of default of an issuer and its impact on the value of fixed income securities. These models take into account factors such as the financial health of the issuer, the credit rating assigned by rating agencies, and the current market conditions. It is important to note that each of these valuation models has its limitations and assumptions that must be taken into account. For example, the present value model assumes that interest rates and credit risk are constant over the life of the security, which may not be the case in practice. The option pricing model assumes that the expected path of interest rates and credit risk is known with certainty, which may not be the case in an uncertain economic environment. Furthermore, the accuracy of the valuation models depends on the quality of the data used in the model. Inaccurate or incomplete data can result in flawed valuations and inaccurate pricing of fixed income securities. Overall, the use of valuation models is critical in determining the fair value of fixed income securities. Investors must understand the limitations and assumptions of each model and use them appropriately to estimate the fair value of these securities. Risk management is a critical aspect of investing in fixed income securities. These securities are subject to a range of risks, including interest rate risk, credit risk, liquidity risk, and market risk. Effective risk management is essential to reduce the potential for significant losses and to achieve investment objectives. Interest rate risk arises from changes in interest rates, which can impact the value of fixed income securities. An increase in interest rates reduces the value of fixed income securities, while a decrease in interest rates increases their value. To manage interest rate risk, investors can use a variety of tools such as duration and convexity, which measure the sensitivity of fixed income securities to changes in interest rates. Credit risk is the risk that the issuer of a fixed income security may default on its payments. To manage credit risk, investors can conduct credit analysis on issuers to assess their creditworthiness. This analysis typically involves an assessment of the issuer's financial health, credit ratings, and other factors that may impact the likelihood of default. Investors can also use credit derivatives, such as credit default swaps, to transfer credit risk to another party. Liquidity risk is the risk that an investor may not be able to sell a security when needed or may have to sell it at a significant discount. To manage liquidity risk, investors can diversify their portfolios across multiple securities and asset classes, or invest in more liquid securities. Investors can also use tools such as bid-ask spreads to assess the liquidity of a security and make informed investment decisions. Market risk is the risk that an investor may experience losses due to changes in market conditions, such as changes in interest rates or economic conditions. To manage market risk, investors can use diversification, hedging, and other risk management tools to offset potential losses. Overall, effective risk management is essential to investing in fixed income securities. Investors must understand the risks associated with these securities and use appropriate risk management tools to reduce the potential for significant losses. By managing risk effectively, investors can achieve their investment objectives and build a diversified portfolio of fixed income securities. Hedging is a popular risk management tool used by investors to offset potential losses from investments. Hedging involves taking a position in a derivative instrument, such as an options contract or futures contract, that is designed to offset the risk associated with the underlying asset. In the context of fixed income securities, investors can use interest rate swaps, futures contracts, and options contracts to hedge against changes in interest rates and credit risk. One of the most commonly used hedging instruments in fixed income securities is interest rate swaps. An interest rate swap involves two parties exchanging a fixed rate of interest for a variable rate of interest, effectively allowing each party to hedge against interest rate risk. For example, if an investor holds a portfolio of fixed income securities with a fixed rate of interest, they can use an interest rate swap to exchange the fixed rate for a variable rate, effectively offsetting the risk associated with interest rate changes. Futures contracts are another popular hedging instrument used in fixed income securities. Futures contracts are agreements to buy or sell a particular security or commodity at a predetermined price and time in the future. For example, an investor holding a portfolio of bonds can use futures contracts to hedge against changes in interest rates or credit risk. Options contracts are also commonly used to hedge against risk in fixed income securities. Options contracts provide investors with the right, but not the obligation, to buy or sell a security at a predetermined price and time in the future. For example, an investor can purchase a put option on a fixed income security, allowing them to sell the security at a predetermined price if the market value of the security falls below a certain level. While hedging can be an effective risk management tool, it is important to note that it also involves costs, such as transaction costs and opportunity costs. Hedging also involves a trade-off between risk reduction and potential returns, as hedging can limit the upside potential of investments. Therefore, investors must carefully consider the costs and benefits of hedging before implementing it in their investment strategy. Diversification is a risk management technique that involves spreading investments across different securities, asset classes, industries, and geographic regions to reduce the impact of market volatility and minimize the risk of losses. In the context of fixed income securities, diversification can involve investing in different types of securities, such as government bonds, corporate bonds, and municipal bonds, with varying maturities and credit ratings. Diversification is based on the principle that different securities and asset classes behave differently in response to changes in market conditions. By spreading investments across different securities and asset classes, investors can reduce the impact of market volatility on their portfolio and minimize the risk of losses. Diversification can also provide investors with the opportunity to earn a higher return by investing in securities with varying risk and return characteristics. One of the key benefits of diversification is that it can reduce the overall risk of a portfolio without sacrificing potential returns. By investing in a variety of securities and asset classes, investors can reduce the risk associated with any single security or asset class. However, it is important to note that diversification cannot eliminate all risk, as some level of risk is inherent in all investments. Another important aspect of diversification is to balance the risks and rewards of different investments. This means investing in securities with varying levels of risk and return, rather than simply investing in securities with the highest potential returns. For example, an investor may choose to invest in a mix of government bonds, investment-grade corporate bonds, and high-yield bonds, to balance the risks and rewards of their investment portfolio. Overall, diversification is a valuable risk management technique that can help investors achieve their investment objectives while minimizing the potential for significant losses. By investing in a variety of securities and asset classes, investors can reduce their exposure to market volatility and take advantage of opportunities in different areas of the market. Credit analysis is a critical part of managing fixed income securities. Credit risk, the risk of default by the issuer of a fixed income security, is a major consideration for investors in these securities. Credit analysis involves assessing the creditworthiness of the issuer and the likelihood of default. Credit analysis typically involves an assessment of financial statements, credit ratings, and other factors that may impact the issuer's ability to repay its debt obligations. One of the key factors in credit analysis is the issuer's financial health. This includes an assessment of the issuer's cash flow, debt levels, profitability, and other financial metrics. Investors may also look at the issuer's credit ratings, which are assigned by rating agencies such as Moody's or Standard & Poor's. Credit ratings provide an independent assessment of the creditworthiness of the issuer and are an important factor in credit analysis. Another factor to consider in credit analysis is the economic environment in which the issuer operates. Economic conditions can impact the issuer's ability to generate cash flow, meet debt obligations, and maintain its credit rating. For example, a downturn in the economy may lead to lower revenues for the issuer and an increased risk of default. Regulatory and legal factors can also impact the creditworthiness of the issuer. Changes in regulations or legal liabilities can impact the issuer's ability to generate cash flow and meet debt obligations. For example, a company facing a large lawsuit may be at increased risk of default if it is unable to pay the damages awarded. Overall, credit analysis is a critical part of managing fixed income securities. By assessing the creditworthiness of issuers, investors can make informed decisions about which securities to invest in and reduce the risk of losses due to default. Credit analysis can involve a range of factors, including financial health, credit ratings, economic conditions, and regulatory and legal factors. Market liquidity is an important consideration for investors in fixed income securities. Liquidity risk, the risk of not being able to sell a security when needed, can impact the value and performance of fixed income securities. Market liquidity refers to the ease with which securities can be bought and sold in the market. More liquid markets typically have narrower bid-ask spreads, which represent the difference between the price at which a security can be bought and sold. Narrow bid-ask spreads indicate that there is a high level of trading activity in the security and that it is easy to buy and sell. Less liquid markets typically have wider bid-ask spreads, which can make it more difficult for investors to sell securities when needed and may result in larger trading costs. The liquidity of fixed income securities can vary depending on the type of security, its issuer, and the prevailing market conditions. For example, government bonds are typically more liquid than corporate bonds, as they are backed by the government and have a lower level of credit risk. In times of market stress, liquidity can also dry up, making it more difficult to buy and sell securities. One way to manage liquidity risk is to invest in more liquid securities, such as government bonds or exchange-traded funds, ETFs, that track broad indices of fixed income securities. Another approach is to diversify investments across multiple securities and asset classes, which can reduce the impact of liquidity risk on a portfolio. Investors can also use tools such as bid-ask spreads and trading volumes to assess the liquidity of fixed income securities. Higher trading volumes and narrower bid-ask spreads typically indicate a more liquid market, while lower trading volumes and wider bid-ask spreads may indicate a less liquid market. Overall, market liquidity is an important consideration for investors in fixed income securities. By understanding the liquidity of different securities and using appropriate risk management techniques, investors can reduce the potential impact of liquidity risk on their portfolios. Thank you for your interest in this book. Please leave your feedback on these thoughts in the comments below, or just put a like on this video. It will help me stay motivated and make more videos like this. In the description of this video, you may find links where you can purchase this book.